Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. Let's take a look here at Solana, see what's going on. Big surprise, we're pulling back here, folks. That's just Bitcoin retracing from the 87K range. Simple way to understand it here for those who are kind of newer to my channel and or understanding what Bitcoin's at. Standard retracement for Bitcoin. It's nothing super substantial. We're likely to pivot or bounce off this $82,500 to $83,000 mark if we even come down that low. So we're entering a nice support range for that. The reason I'm mentioning that is simply put, that helps us a lot on Solana, understanding where we're going to bounce here as well. We got our local low here at roughly 125. That should be the next area of consideration for a long if you are considering one. I'd much rather consider a long versus a short just because we haven't broken bearish yet on Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin's still on the right side of tracks, which we are so far tentatively, then I would say the same thing for Solana as well. So we're going to talk about areas of invalidation for this coin if you're considering a long, and also make sure that we understand, kind of just some incentive for the whales to push the price action either further down or to recover instantly. How's that going to work? Well, just to clarify, in case you didn't catch my video from yesterday for Solana, Solana has been performing better than Bitcoin and or most other altcoins, at least relative to Bitcoin. So if we understand that, and that is still consistent, we see that correlation here, the likelihood of recovering and bouncing from here is greater. Okay, so some good stuff there in that sense, but if you look at the macro here, we're kind of right in the middle of a range. Once more, 138, I mentioned previously, heavy resistance range based on liquidation. Keep in mind, liquidation is there because it's a resistance, not the other way around. But the truth is 138 is that monumental area to close above to get us to break bullish. Between now and then, we can see 120 is that secondary area just below the price. So 120 to 138, we're effectively range bound in that area. And we have been since roughly March 13th. So that's about a week's worth of range bound activity for this coin. While it's a larger range, that's hypothetically buying at 120 would be a logical consideration. If it even comes down that low, that's where market makers come in. They're really good about convincing you that the price is going to go to a certain area. You wait for an opportunity, it never happens. Or you jump in early and obviously continue. So it's really difficult to time the bottom. That's why I'd highly recommend low leverage, lower position sizes if possible. Try not to be one of those persons that's trying to get rich quick. I would say it's a bit of a grind, but it's also, if you're going to be good at this, you can't be jeopardizing your portfolio every time you take a trade. That's a really way to understand it. Either way, delta, liquidation delta is basically telling us we have a shift in momentum and or we're reaching that potential pivot point. In other words, liquidation delta is breaking even, essentially telling us that we could see a break to the downside, or just in general, it's more neutral stance here. And oftentimes when there's neutrality, there's somewhat of a push in either direction. So it's kind of more of a, if you're familiar with Bollinger Bands, they have a tendency of kind of breaking out once they start to compress. In other words, if you have a tight range for too long, it's going to go in either direction. We're seeing that right now, at least with the liquidation, verifying that both longs and shorts are kind of timid right now. Don't know what the hell to do next. With good reason. That's how the market makers make their money. You got to recognize that. Okay, anyways, we're in the support range here. I mentioned this previously yesterday that if the price does pull back, I'd be interested in the 128 range. We're below 128 right now, but the key takeaway here is 127 to 129, right in that rough $2 mark, is that area of support based on open interest. This is where people are the heaviest with their positions here locally. Okay, so that's generally a favorable sign. When we take a look at the daily time frame, what's unfavorable here is we have yet to break bullish. Once more, I've mentioned this previously, closing above 140 would be fairly indicative of a shift in momentum. Between now and then, we can see we're still stuck under the 20-day SMA, effectively that descending type of trend. Okay, so while if you draw out a trend line, it's not going to be perfect. You will notice that there is, we're going to see some consistencies here in the fact that we're effectively continuing to hit lower highs, right? So until that dynamic shifts, we're going to presume that we're going to be stuck on stupid between 120 and 138. That's essentially the concept there. Okay, so when we look at the daily time frame, we want to be over 50 on the RSI really to have that gusto, that confirmation. We don't have that. While we're over the SMA, that's fantastic. That's showing we're reaching our tentative bottom. It still doesn't mean that we're there yet. Okay, so try not to convince yourself right now we've broken bullish just because we had one good day yesterday. Okay, if today was green, I would still urge caution based on the simple fact that we have a heavy resistance above the price. We'll look at that here. Actually, let's zoom in a bit more on the 4 hour, see what's going on. because the 4-hour time frame is a good transitionary time frame. So when we look at this is my previous playout from yesterday. Price did not pivot or bounce off the local high, which is supposed to happen. Typically 129 should have been that pivot point. But we can see this expansive wave after a manipulation phase to the downside. So we're seeing power of 3 happen over and over and over again. You could even say the same thing here, right? Work ourselves into a channel and get this manipulative wave to the downside, get everyone to fake everyone out effectively, hitting a lot of shorts, and then squeeze the hell out of the shorts with a push to the upside. Same thing happened as well. It's easy to identify because Bitcoin's printed the same behavior. Granted, Solana did retest its local high where Bitcoin didn't, so I do feel like Solana is performing just generally better than Bitcoin. It's marginal though, it's nothing super substantial. Right now it's hard to tell if it's performing better or worse because everything's pulling back. That's just standard retracement. Either way you look at it here, my secondary potential consideration for entry would be this 126 range. So we come down as low as 126, hypothetically this local low should work as the new low. Hypothetically, right? That's generally how it's supposed to work. Does trading work out the way we always want it to? No. In fact, when we take a look here, this would be a reason to maybe consider not taking along because we shifted momentum. We're under 50 on the RSI now. That's usually not a favorable sign. We're under that RSI SMA as well. Stochastic swinging down, MACD about to diverge. These are all signs telling us the bottom is going to drop out. Now, does that mean it's going to happen? Lately, we've noticed way too many false positives. Anytime we have these kind of overextended states, the price will recover almost instantly, and everyone's sitting there with their, sitting on their thumbs trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Because it's supposed to continue lower based on what we see here. But is it going to? Lately, I don't know. So take a look here. We can see actually, hold on. Let's clarify. Okay, good. That makes a little more sense. The lagging span is down under the price action, essentially telling us that we broke a bearish, big surprise, and then the conversion line is below the baseline. These are all momentous indicators telling us we're going down. So the overall sentiment here is not fantastic. Dang near every indication is telling us we're going to see further downside. My speculation and my anticipation rather is to try to take a long at Bitcoin between 82.5 and 83.5, right in that range there, because we are in the upper half of the current support range for Bitcoin. So if we enter that lower half, I'll be interested in that as a consideration, but just know if we close below 82.5, that would invalidate any potential long on Bitcoin. So if you take that same concept and apply that to Solana here, hypothetically, an entry around 125 seems logical. Once more, not based on a technical standpoint, based on a manipulative understanding of how market makers have been pushing the price, just overextending it in one way, freaking everybody out. As soon as they flip short, they go long. That's really how it's been lately. So while it's not a guarantee, I would say statistical probability is high. We see a bounce in the relative near future just based on that sentiment. Once more, what do I know? We've only secured a small amount of profit, honestly, lately. We took some Bitcoin trades. We had a trade from last week still open, 42%. 42% also from a trade we took 2 days ago, near protocol. We did miss out, unfortunately, on our ETH trade. We're at ETH long at 2,000. We came super close to our take profit target. It's pulled back since. It's just kind of the market they were in, right? But once more, low leverage, low position size, folks. We can survive these ebbs and flows. Heaven forbid it continues to pull back lower. Once we reach that invalidation level, we close the trade. It's kind of how it works. You just kind of got to roll with it, folks. In the meantime, I hope you learned something today. Thanks again so much for being an awesome part of my life. Join us over on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord if you haven't already. That's available for you there. I provide playout charts and whatever else is relevant to the market at the time. Hope you have a good one, though. Thanks again. We'll see you soon. Take care out there. Bye-bye.